Good morning. I am Charles Merkel here to talk about something we all hear very often in the news, and it's a common problem among all of us. If we're not a victim yet, the FTC says it's just a matter of time we will be. If you watch the statistics, it was FTC was coming out, says 1 out of 7 chance you'll be a victim, 1 out of 4 chance, 1 out of 2 chance. Now they're saying it's just a matter of time. We're all going to be a victim, just like we're all going to need life insurance one day. So now to discuss the different ways you can protect yourself is the monitoring. There's 3 different kinds of monitoring. One, there is a do-it-yourself method. If you didn't know about that. There's a fantastic app called Credit Karma. If you're just worried about your credit, problem with the credit reports is less than 20% of all identity theft actually shows up on your credit report. So then you have to go through and monitor your bank statements, your health insurance statements, any kind of investment, financial. You got to do the legwork and check those statements and make sure there's nothing funny going on, and then figure out what to do about it when you do find something. But you can do yourself monitoring. Don't recommend it, but it's certainly better than being nothing. The absolute worst thing you can do is just put your head in the sand, because this is not a problem that's going away. It's just getting worse. And if I had to do an example of the do-it-yourself, it would be going home and walking through the house and seeing if there's a fire. Makes a lot of sense, right? I remember in the military we used to do security checks. Well, said you walk around, there's no fire. Okay, well, for that moment you're good. You walk around, but who's walking around all the time making sure there's no fire at your house? Nobody, if you're doing it yourself. Second option is monitoring methods. Now, you can hire somebody to monitor, and there's 2 different kinds of monitoring companies. One, some of them do focus, you can get it through your bank, your credit card, but they tend to focus only on the credit reports. Again, they will find stuff that shows up there. They'll get a nice little report or alert. But most identity theft, again, does not show up in your credit report. So you're watching your front door and you're leaving all your windows and back doors on, nobody's watching those. So that would be like going in and wanting to protect your house from a fire. So I'm going to put a smoke alarm in the kitchen. Great place. But what about the rest of the house? The other option is to hire somebody that's going to monitor everything. So they are going to do the they are going to watch the credit agencies. They're also going to look for criminal records against you. They're going to look for tax fraud. They're going to look for payday loans. And I'm talking about the good ones now. And the big thing is make sure they're monitoring the black web, because that's where the criminals are doing their that's where they're doing their business. The black web, it was made by the government. It does have legitimate uses, but because of its design, it's a perfect place where the criminals can go in completely incognito and conduct business and sell your identity. You go on, do a shopping cart, they check out just like on Amazon, and there goes your credit, or there goes your identity for an amazingly low price, and it's incredibly easy. All right. Now, you find out you have an identity theft issue. So what do you do about it? Again, there is a do-it-yourself restoration method. And Gabriella, I'm going to ask you, the government has put out a free version. They put out a nice little resource. It said 17.6 million identity theft victims in 2014. That number is going up, way up. Nearly 500,000 complaints to the FTC in 2015. And as a little caveat, identity theft has been the #1 consumer complaint to the FTC 16 years running. There is nobody in a close second. Okay. Some examples of misuse. They can open up credit cards, utility accounts in your names. It's far more than just your finances. Far, far more. They can apply for a tax refund in your name. Florida was #1 a couple years ago. Get a loan. Payday loans in your name are very, very popular, but they can also buy a mortgage, get any kind of loan. They can apply for employment. And what happens if somebody applies as you for employment? Do you think they're paying taxes on that? No, they're not. So when the IRS says, hey, so-and-so's working, they're not paying taxes, who are they going to go after? Yeah, exactly. And they can also get medical care. Thanks to the Affordable Care Act, there is no more limit on the amount of funds that can be spent in your name for medical care. So they can sell you over and over and over and over. And people are getting bills for procedures they never had. And unfortunately, because of HIPAA laws, it's very hard to prove that it wasn't you. Because once you tell them that it wasn't you that got it, the hospital's going to say, we can't talk to you. Yeah, so it's a mess. All right, any impact on victims, denial of credit and loans. And this is not just adults. This is kids as well. Child identity theft is on a huge rise, rising 5-to-1 to adults, because kids can go undetected for years. But yeah, kids are going out for student loans, trying to get jobs. They're getting denied because they're finding out they already have loans against them. They already have a mortgage they've defaulted on. They already have a criminal record. It's absolutely amazing. Denial of medical care because your records no longer match. You're not you. Imagine somebody goes in for a procedure, changes your blood type because they have work done. You go in for emergency treatment, get the wrong blood type.
They'll die.
Yeah. Now your life insurance is being used. Very, very dangerous. Harassment by debt collectors for debts that you don't owe. And do you think any of them are accepting it wasn't me? Debt collectors make money one way, and that's collecting debt. And if they have your name, they're going to keep going after you. I'm going to come back to that one. Lawsuits held against you. Lots of stress and anxiety, lots of embarrassment, lots of people losing time off of work. On average, it's 150 to 600 hours. And this is during business hours, because that's when organizations and places are open, that somebody has to put in and fix their own identity. So the government does have an answer. It's identitytheft.gov. You go on, you fill in a nice little questionnaire. Where is it here? There's a nice little printed recovery plan, 40 pages. Tells you what to do, who to contact, some sample letters. You fill out the questionnaire. They'll give you some nice step-by-steps, even do some generic form letters for you to fill out and send out. And then put it into action. All right, go ahead. All right. Okay. This just covers what I already did. They give you a nice little roadmap. They do help you report and recover from identity theft. It is help. It's better than nothing. And they give you a nice little get started, just an example of the website. All right. Again, the questionnaire, go ahead. All right. And they can tell you, here you can fill in what kind of information was used, what information they had and how it was used. Again, you have to know how to fill that out. So either you've been doing your own monitoring or you've been hiring somebody else to do it. Okay. As an example of a form letter to fill out. And this example has example recovery plan. All right, this one has call Citibank to report the fraudulent account. That's a common one. All right, fraud alerts on your credit reports. Again, they give you the steps, but you're having to do it all. File a report with your police department. You have to do that before a lot of businesses or organizations will take you seriously. Okay, and they even keep track of your progress, let you know how you're doing. An example of a form letter here. All right. And recovering from identity theft is easier with a plan. So, All right. That is the government's answer. Again, it's, they're trying. It's certainly better than nothing. It does give you some steps to follow. The other options are to hire somebody else to do it for you. Now, there's some that are, when you hear about restoration, there's different kinds of restorations. One is restoration assistance. This would be what the government offers with some other nice benefits added. And this can be tied in with a monitoring. So if you have a good monitoring, they'll let you know there's an issue. And if you have somebody that does restoration assistance, they'll guide you through the restoration process. So, all right. Who here is afraid of working on their own car? All right, Jean. Okay, I'm going to give you an example of the restoration assistance. Okay. Well, I'm monitoring your car, okay? And the check engine light came on. I plugged in my little computer. I told you what was the matter. So, there's a problem with your car, okay? Now,
I have Ernesto on speed dial.
He's going to be a good example in a minute. All right, so so I've told you there's a problem with your car. Now, I'm going to offer you assistance to help you get your car fixed. I have this nice Haynes manual, tells you everything about your car, how to fix it, has pictures, step-by-step instructions on what to do. Beyond that, tell you what, if you have any out-of-pocket expenses, keep your receipts, because you're going to have to go to a garage. You're going to have to rent a bay, rent some tools, get under there and fix it, but keep your receipts, because we're insurance-backed. A lot of them are insurance-backed. So we're going to reimburse you for all or some of your expenses. If you have to take time off work to fix your car, we can give you lost wages. And if you have any questions at all, we even have ASE certified mechanics on the phone to talk you through what to do if you have any questions at all. Does this sound like a good deal?
No.
No. No, it doesn't. But it's better than nothing. And this is what a lot of people have when they say they have identity theft restoration. So again, if anybody's signed up with something, call up your company. Just ask them, give them a couple of what-if scenarios. If this happens, what are you going to do for me? You have a right to know. And if you're happy with the answer, fantastic. And if you've taken the steps to get some help and have some monitoring and restoration in place, absolutely fantastic. I congratulate you for being proactive. But this is, again, just education. Make sure you know what you have. All right?
Okay. That's my Haynes manual.
Yeah, the Haynes manual. Well, you didn't sign up with me, so you don't get the manual. Okay. The third option is complete restoration. And there's only a few companies doing this. And this is, okay, we've alerted you there's a problem. Tell you what, we're going to pick up your car, we're going to take it to the mechanic, we're going to pay everything out of our pocket to make sure it's fixed, and we'll bring it back to you. How does that sound?
Better.
Much better. Absolutely. So you don't have to take time off work. You don't have to run around town, figure out which mechanic to call, who to get it fixed, what tools you need, anything else. So you can just go on with your life, and when it's fixed, we'll let you know. We'll bring it back to you. And if there's any other problems afterwards, we're going to take care of that too. Sound pretty good?
Again, better.
Okay.
Much better.
Because we can't give you a new identity. That's one thing nobody can do. So nobody's getting new socials or driver's licenses yet.
You have to take those from someone else.
Sorry? Oh, unless you buy somebody else's, absolutely. Yeah. The black web is not that hard to get onto. So, all right. And among all of the services except one, there is a key component that is missing, and that is legal assistance. Kroll, the #1 risk management company in the world, did their research, and they determined 7 out of 10 times when people have an identity theft issue, they also have a legal issue. Because, again, most people are concerned about credit, which the banks are doing a pretty good job on. But if you get a notice from the IRS saying, you owe 6 figures for work you never did, is a tax attorney going to be pretty helpful at that time? Yeah. Or you get pulled over for a taillight being out. This happened to a lady in Florida. They run the plates and find that there's two warrants for your arrest, and all of a sudden you're in handcuffs, going to the sheriff's station, and you have 2 kids in the car. They're going into foster care. It's scary stuff out there. But the identity theft restoration, they can restore your identity, but you need an attorney at that moment to keep you out of jail. So, all right. So I'm going to show a little video, and then we'll continue.
Credit freezes on all my credit reports. They need to start being very
Would you
careful
do that,
about watching.
sir?
Yeah,
if you're on the affected list, you should freeze your credit with everybody?
Absolutely.
Okay, what's that cost, and how do you do it?
Actually, if you go to the site that the Experian has put out, Equifax, has put out, they'll show you how to go through, and the FTC and everybody shows you how to do your credit freezes. Go to those sites. Usually it's about $10, to put the freeze on, but I would do that instantly right now for at least the next 60 days, just to let this thing play out.
So
wait a second. You're talking about the next 60 days. This has already been out there for more than 30 days. So is it too late at this point?
It may or may not be. A lot of times when this happens, and this is actually a very good question. We've seen a lot of data be held for 4 years. This stuff doesn't go away. Your name, your Social Security number, your date of birth doesn't really expire. So this is great. This is great data that's going to be valuable.
This company is offering you insurance for the next year. Is that sufficient?
No, that's not. I mean, that is just using an eyedropper to put out a forest fire. That is not going to be sufficient enough. I mean, you're talking. Remember, when the LinkedIn data breach happened, they used passwords 4 years later, including Mark Zuckerberg, to compromise his account. Right. So this data is, it's going to be out there for.
Okay, so news you can use. Let's continue on. What other things if you're a viewer right now, concerned about your own security, what should you be doing? Online security.
Yeah, basically, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about right now concerns identity theft, but you should be looking at, is there any information in there that could be used to compromise your accounts, things that would indicate what your passwords are. Make sure you've got good, healthy systems set up for how to change your passwords. Make sure you've got, in addition to what they have, I've got my own identity theft protection. I just don't trust what they give me because all they do is the bare bones.
Hold on. When you say you have your own identity protection, through who? You don't necessarily have to tell us the company you're using, but who should we be using? What should we be doing?
Well, look, anything is better than nothing. I use a company called ID Shield because one of the things they have is there's also some actual investigators. If anything happens, you actually have real investigators go out and do it. But you need something. You need something that's better than nothing. This is one of those things. This is hard to find out how this is going to play out because we don't know who the actors is. We've seen North Korea be behind WannaCry and the ransomware attacks. Is it possible it's them? Is it a state actor? Or is it organized crime? That's going to make a big difference on how your data is used. People don't know how it's going to be used, but you've got to do some basic protections. And the biggest thing right now is monitor. And like you were saying, Becky, is that it's not just the next 60 days, but you need to put a credit freeze at least for the next 60 days. If this information is going to be used right away, at least you want to protect against that.
Hey,
but
Morgan,
look, there is no good answer to this.
Real quick on Equifax, the company itself, we're talking about the stock. Are they a victim in this case? Or should we be thinking about them differently? And the reason I ask is there's a number of reports that suggest that they have had a number of hack attacks before this, and that they had been told that their security was not nearly strong enough.
Look, I testified before Congress on healthcare.gov back in November 2013. In fact, your program was the first one I was on after that testimony. Even then, I said we should have this cyber equivalent of Sarbanes-Oxley for protecting our systems to say you need now to have chief executives that sign off every year saying that we've taken these kind of steps to protect this data. The fact that this data was so close to the internet that it was on a web, you could get through it through a web server, to me, that alone goes back to exactly what you were saying, is that is just bad management, that's bad practice, and if you did the equivalent from a financial standpoint, you'd be going to jail.
What kind of regulation is around these companies now? I mean, these three companies have more information than just about anybody else in the world.
They hold everything. They hold the keys to the kingdom. Look, there's not enough. In fact, this goes back to the point of they had this information for at least 6 weeks, if not longer. Like I said, some of the reports are some of the execs sold stock.
Right.
Within days.
Do you believe that, by the way? Is it possible that these individuals did not know about this? that this could have.
If they didn't know about it, that's a failure of leadership too. Why wouldn't your key executives like that know about a data breach? Everybody at the executive level, at those levels, should have known about this. So I don't. First of all, being a former cop, I don't believe in coincidence. So I think that there's a there, and I think the FBI needs to look into it. And this is one of those things that it's going to get worse for these guys before it gets better, not just because of the data breach, but because of the actions of the executive, because of the lack of follow-through, like you were saying on these reports, that their security was bad. And why, for heaven's sakes, was 143 million people's data so close to the Internet that all you had to do was exploit a web application? That's like walking into the bank and finding out all the cash is not in the vault, but it's sitting out on the tables in front. That's just bad.
Okay, final question. I've been reading about this web application. What was that? And are other companies using the similar web applications?
I don't know. I actually was doing that research right before I get on. I went to look to see what it was. They haven't really said it yet, and they probably won't because they're continuing the application, but it looks like it was probably one of their applications that allowed people to interface with their site to pull things like credit reports or do their credit check or, have other people inquire upon that. It could be third-party access too. As we found out with Target, the problem was third-party access. Third parties are security holes.
The important part is what you need to do to protect yourself, and that is have active monitoring. Maybe years ago, do-it-yourself was enough. That's not the case anymore. The thieves are getting they're getting better and more active. In fact, identity theft has had one positive, believe it or not. It's reducing the drug trade coming in America, because these drug cartel are realizing, you know what? Said we can get into identity theft. We can do it without getting shot at, and having a product we can sell over and over and over. So they're doing career changes, from drugs to identity theft. They make good money, and they're not in any danger, and they have a product they can sell over and over and over again. So it's absolutely amazing. So I know Mr. Wright mentioned he has ID Shield. That's who I also have protecting myself and my family, along with the Legal Shield component. That's the identity and the legal married together, full protection for myself and my family. And that's what I use. You have your own decision to make. Absolutely, something is better than nothing. And there are some great monitoring companies out there, but the differentiation is when something is alerted and that restoration component. Your information is out there. Be proactive. Don't put your head in the sand. Do something, because this is something that's not going to go away. It's just going to get worse. And again, it's a matter of time. We're all going to feel the sting. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.